like the turbulence of ocean. You know, if you're in the ocean and it becomes very turbulent, it's hard to not allow that turbulence to affect you in the way you become, in a way to where you become unsettled. So to be able to deal with that type of uncontrolled turbulence, something that you can't control, is just there, and you can't even really predict it. It just happens. So in order for you to maintain your stability, your balance, your harmony, right? In order for you to maintain it, you have to somewhat be aware of the atmosphere or of the terrain or of the nature of the turbulence or the ocean. You have to be familiar with what you're dealing with, in a sense. And you have to be prepared for it, and you have to somewhat, like, in your way of being prepared for it, you have to have trained yourself over and over how to deal with things like that. You failed sometimes, you succeeded sometimes, meaning that you've dealt with things in a way that you wanted to, or in a way that was conducive towards the objective and results that you wanted. You know, a lot of times when we deal with a matter in a way to where it doesn't produce the results that is conducive towards our overall objective, then we can conclude that we dealt with something not in the best way or in the best manner. I would say that all the time, that we have to always try to keep that in mind when we deal with things as a gauge of measurement. When we talk about, okay, yeah, it may have felt good to cut somebody out, right? It may have felt good to tell somebody about themselves for the moment, but telling them about themselves or cussing them out, was it or is it still in alignment with your overall objective? Does it keep you in your overall objective when it comes to social health? Also, you being more in control of self. You reaching a point to where you are, what I would say, you are mastering yourself. You are conquering your emotions. You are getting a better grip of your tongue. You know, I was dealing with a customer this morning, and she came in. As soon as I got to this job, she came in with this energy. And let me tell you something. Energy is very powerful. It's easy for the turbulent water to cause you to become unsettled. So when people bring that energy in, it's easy for us to naturally return that energy to a person. You know, according to the law, the scientific conservation law of energy, is that energy cannot be destroyed nor created. It can only be changed in its form from one form to another. Meaning, like, it can only either be negative or positive. It can only give or pull, right? It can only feed or take. You with me? Or it can be transferred, meaning that positive energy can be transferred from one person to another. It can be felt, right? So it's easy for someone to bring in a certain mindset, a certain type of energy, and affect the whole room. If you're not trained, if you're not prepared, if you're not really in control of your own, if you're not focused or aware of your overall goal and objective, where you're headed with yourself. A lot of times when we just flowing through life, our mind or our energy, our mindset, our emotions can easily be affected by whatever happened at the moment. That's because we don't really have an objective for ourselves and where we want to be, where I'm trying to be with myself, where I'm striving to go with myself. A lot of times we're just trying to survive. And survival equates to having the bag. That's it. Survival equates to having the money so we can buy the food, pay the bills, buy the clothes, buy the car, keep everything fit, keep everything rolling, go on trips and this, that, and other, have fun, smoke, drink, right? The bag equates to all of that so that I can make sure I have everything I want to get. But our day isn't set up around also as an addition to getting the bag, or as a foundation, really the first and foremost principle, our day is set up to where I'm trying to also build up my personal stock. You see, we like to build up our stock on an external level, on the way we're viewed by others, by what people see. But we're not as concerned a lot of times with our personal development, like our character, the type of energy we leave, the type of spirit we leave with a person. You know, that I had read a book a long time ago, and this book really was this is when I was locked up, and this book was about pimping and all that, right? And so, anyway, one thing in this book that really resonated with me, and I started thinking about this leaving your spirit thing with someone, is actually like the guy, he was set on when he left a person, leaving his spirit with him, leaving a certain like energy in their mind to where when they think about him in a certain way, and they also feel his presence even when he's not there. And it wasn't done necessarily through like a physical, matter of fact, it wasn't done through what he was physically doing to him at all. It was all a conversation. He was trying to convey and leave this energy with people through his words, not through his actions. I mean, you know, of course his character, it's better than that. When I say not his actions, I'm saying it ain't necessarily something he was doing to him. It was something that he was saying, and it was his character. Have you ever left a person that whenever you think about them, you have, they might upset you, or when you think about them, they make you feel good, or when you think about them, you get a little concerned or worried, because that's the energy that they left with you. That's their character. So in developing that character in a way that when you leave a certain type of energy with people that you desire to leave, this is the part of knowing where you want to go. This is the part of having this objective. So you leave, or you go out through the day saying, I want to be better in some ways. I want to develop myself in some ways. I want to be able to control myself in some ways, right? So you walk through your day trying to develop yourself, because that's also even more important. Because what I've learned is that when you're not developing yourself on a mental level and on a characteristic level, when you're not developing yourself like that, no matter how much money you get, you're not going to keep it. No matter how much money you get, people are not really going to love you. People are going to appreciate what you can offer them. People are going to gravitate and be around you because of what they can get from you. So if you're not in the business of trying to create slaves, if you're not in that business, I want slaves. If you're not in that business, then just getting the bag isn't going to be enough. But if you're in the business of just trying to create slaves, then getting the bag and creating power, like what this nation is kind of created on, you know, those who really, the powers that be, as we say, they're more concerned with getting power than they are about necessarily the bag. Also, they're kind of equated. The more money you have, the more power you can get, but just money alone doesn't create power. So if you're going through your day trying to develop self, then this is what I'm talking about when I say being prepared for the different types of turbulences, for the different atmospheres, for the different sudden things that happen in life, things that you didn't see coming, people that come into your world or your sphere, your environment, your space with untamed type of energy, untamed turbulence. You know, it's just out of control. They come into your sphere with the energy of a hurricane or a tornado because they're so out of control, I'd say, in regards to their personal self. They go through life not even worrying about the development of character and mind, of emotions. So as they move along throughout the day, you can see this character in a lot of people. Once you become more controlled, you can see this character in a lot of people because, I mean, you're more intentional. Your thoughts are more purposeful. You move with a certain level of calculation, while you'll be able to recognize one that doesn't. You can talk to a person and they can do something just a second ago, and you can ask them why they do it, and they're not even aware of the fact that they've done it. Why do what? Oh, when you done so-and-so a while ago, or when you looked at so-and-so a certain way a while ago, I thought maybe you knew the person or the person upset you. But they're so untamed and so unconscious in regards to how they move about their day that there are things that they do become instinctive. They move unconsciously. And they've trained themselves to do that by not training themselves. So for one who moves throughout the day, readjusting their calculations, and how they move, how they think. You know, you see the world differently, and when people approach you, it's kind of hard to be caught off guard. It gets a little bit more difficult to be caught off guard and get just a reaction out of you. You become instinctively one who pulls back and think and assess and reassess and calculate, analyze, examine. You become one that's your reaction automatically. You're not one to just get excited and run out there. But instead you reassess the situation so that you'll know what you're about to run out there into. Because you may need some stuff before you go. You know, you may need some things. You know, because if you go out there unprepared and find yourself a victim amongst victims because you just reacted. And this is how people clash and bump heads and wars are created on a simple level, like in the streets or in the job. It's because your thoughts is not prepared. You're not calculated. And you see, with this customer that I was speaking about, for those who might not kind of caught in on what I was saying, it was a customer come in. She was very already upset because of things that had happened throughout her day. So she came in with a certain mindset as a result of things that was already happening. And so now she's transferring this erraticism, if that's a word, right? She transferring this unsettlement. She transferring all this turbulence to any and everybody that comes across her path now. And not being aware, or maybe she is, you know, that if she transfers that to an energy like her own, she's going to get that in return, right? But my thing is that when people come with a certain energy that I know I don't want to deal with, I pull back and I say, you know what? I'm going to let her or him deal with somebody else who can better deal with that, because that's something I don't have a tolerance for, or that's something I don't have an openness for, or that's something I don't have a logic for. That's something I'm just not going to deal with because it's not on the mental level. It's too emotional for me. You see, there's a saying that you can't rationalize with a fool. A person has to be in their mind to communicate with me and for me to communicate with them, because I only can talk to the mind. I'm not really one who has been cultivated and equipped to talk to a person's emotions too much. To me, your emotions is your personal thing. I can't rationalize with your emotions. You have all the right in the world, as far as I'm concerned, to feel the way you feel about whatever you're feeling about. Because that's your experience. I'm not going to invalidate your experience. You know? But when you're ready to think and problem solve, okay, let's talk, man. Let's go down and do the math. And so I end up still going to deal with the lady, you know? And it really was because of the situation where I was the only one who was able to deal with it. Everybody else wasn't going to deal with it. So I went on here when I did deal with her. And I sat there and just really let her talk. I kind of studied her a little bit. And she kept making statements about black people. Black people. So her it's like she's saying whatever she was receiving in her perspective, she was only getting it from black people, which I didn't have a conversation with her, and she ended up sharing that that's what it was. Black people, just black people. I just didn't always get this from black people, this, that, and other. I say, well, while some of that is true, I've also experienced what you're talking about from Mexican people, white people, Asian people, Arab people. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just black people, but if all you deal with is black people, you're gonna think that. If majority of the people you deal with, you're gonna think that. And then if you go and deal with white people or Mexican people with a different type of energy than you deal with black people, then you're gonna get that different thing from them. So you also have to deal with black people a certain way. This is a conversation I'm having with her. And I'm trying to get her to understand that you came in with a certain energy that I've seen happen a number of times. And I could have easily wrote you off as black people coming here with that nonsense. And it took for her a minute before I got her to see and realize that I was right. So you were exhibiting, exercising, and putting out the very thing that you was complaining about. The very thing you said you have an issue with. You know? And at the end of it all, she thanked me and she appreciated it. She said, man, I really enjoyed the conversation. And she said, man, you good at what you do, and I want you to continue doing that, because you really help me see things differently, and I really, really appreciate this, that, and other. You know? And I thanked her, and we departed. And typically I don't have that kind of time to talk to people on the job, but I had the time to talk to her and was able to get her to see. But I had to assess and say, do I want to be honest with her? Because, at some jobs, you can't be honest with people. You can't really give them your personal thought. You got to deal with it from a company perspective. And I chose to deal with her from a personal perspective and not a company perspective. And I appreciate the fact that she found value in my personal perspective of the way she was deflecting or reflecting her mind, her energy. Yeah, man, be careful about that energy thing. Don't be one that's moved by. Don't be one that's can be incited to do things, can be triggered to do things, because that's how actually the media and the nation takes us off one concern to the next. They kill a brother, got us on that. Kill another brother, got us on that. Throw a pandemic in the mix, now we on that. We shift so easy when we're not focused on controlling the way we think, what we decide to react to. And a war-ready mind has to be one that's a war-ready mind has to be a controlled mind.